"I'm sorry, Dad," she whispered, tears filling her wide brown eyes. "But I can't stay with him. I can't live like this." Her father gripped her hand tightly, his own eyes glistening with guilt. "Emma, you must. It's for the family. We have no choice." Emma looked up at the man standing silently in the shadow of the crumbling wooden house. His clothes were worn out, his shoes dusty. He hadn't said much. He just stared at her with calm, kind eyes. His name was Daniel. Everyone in the village called him the poor carpenter. No family, no money, no future. And now he was her husband. The village square was empty now. The few guests who had come for the wedding had gone back to their homes. Emma stood at the edge of the broken porch of her new home, staring at the dying sunset. Behind her, Daniel was unpacking a small bag that held just a few shirts and a rusted shaving blade. Her dreams of a big white wedding, a house with a garden, and someone who could rescue her from poverty were gone. She was stuck. But Daniel, he wasn't who they thought he was. 3 weeks later, Emma woke up early and walked down to the river with a bucket to fetch water. As she passed the old abandoned barn, she saw something strange. Daniel was there, but he wasn't wearing his usual dirty shirt and ragged jeans. He wore a black suit, pressed and shining like it was made of silk. He held a sleek phone in one hand and was speaking into a tiny earpiece, his voice deep and commanding. "Yes, transfer the funds to the New York account. And tell Marcus to hold the shares until after the board meeting. I'll be back in Manhattan by Thursday." Emma ducked behind the tree, her heart beating fast. What was going on? Why was her poor husband dressed like a movie star? Why was he talking about New York and shares? And who in the world was he? She stumbled back, stepping on a twig. The sharp crack made Daniel turn around sharply. Their eyes met, and that's when everything changed. Emma hadn't always been sad. She once dreamed like other girls. She imagined going to college, starting a small bakery, and maybe even opening a YouTube channel to show her fun village life. But dreams cost money, and money was something the Harper family never had. Her mom had passed away when she was only 6. Since then, it had just been her and her dad, Mr. Harper, who used to be a truck driver until he hurt his back and could no longer lift heavy loads. Life had been hard, really hard. There were days they didn't have proper food. Days when their only dinner was boiled potatoes and tap water. Emma tried to help. She'd take up babysitting jobs, clean old ladies' houses, even walk 3 miles to teach little kids how to read. But no matter what she did, the money was never enough. Bills piled up. Their tiny wooden house began to fall apart. Her dad started borrowing from everyone in the village. And that's when the whispers began. "Mr. Harper is drowning in debt. They'll take the house soon. They'll be out on the streets." Emma felt the weight of shame pressing on her every day. She tried to be strong for her father, but it was getting harder. Then one day, her dad came home with a strange look on his face. "I met someone," he said, his voice tight. Emma raised an eyebrow. "Like a woman?" No, he chuckled awkwardly. "A man. A good man. His name is Daniel. He's a carpenter. He lives alone on the edge of the village." Emma waited. "He's poor, but he's kind," her father continued, not meeting her eyes. "He offered to help us." Emma blinked. "How?" "By marrying you." Silence. At first, Emma thought it was a joke. She laughed. Then she realized her dad wasn't laughing. "You're serious?" she asked, backing away. "He said he'd pay off our debts. All of it. He promised to keep you safe. Give you a roof. Food. Work. But I don't even know him." Her father looked down. "I don't want this for you, Emma. But we don't have time. The bank's coming next week. We'll lose everything." Emma spent the night crying. The next morning, she went to meet Daniel. She found him in a small workshop, hammering something on a bench. He looked up and smiled gently. "You must be Emma." She studied him. His beard was trimmed. His hands rough and strong. His shirt had holes in the sleeves. "I heard you want to marry me," she said quietly. Daniel nodded. "Yes, but only if you agree." Emma wanted to scream. Why was everyone acting so calm? This wasn't how love was supposed to work. But when she thought about her father's pain, the cold nights, the shame of asking neighbors for help, her heart broke. "I'll do it," she said. The wedding was small. No gown, no cake, no music. Just Emma, her father, Daniel, and the local priest. They signed the paper, said a few words, and just like that, she was married. The first few days in Daniel's house were quiet. He didn't talk much. He'd leave early in the morning and come back in the evening with wooden toys, chairs, or benches he had made. Emma would cook simple meals and clean the tiny two-room home. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't what she imagined life would be. Then strange things started happening. One morning, Emma found a box under the bed filled with watches, expensive ones. Rolex, Omega, Cartier. She touched one and almost dropped it. The next day, she saw a passport peeking out from a drawer. It wasn't the kind they gave people around here. It had gold letters and looked brand new. The name on it read Daniel Quinn, but she thought his last name was Miller. She started watching him more closely. Sometimes at night, he would disappear for hours. He'd say he was working late at the workshop, but one night, she followed him quietly. He didn't go to the workshop. He walked deep into the woods and vanished behind the old barn. That was when she saw the truth. Daniel Quinn wasn't poor. He was rich, filthy rich. She saw him step out of the barn wearing a suit. A black car was parked behind the tall grass. A man in sunglasses handed him a phone, and Daniel started speaking like a boss. She couldn't believe her eyes. Her poor husband was a secret billionaire. Why was he pretending to be poor? Why did he choose her? Emma's heart pounded as she tried to sneak away without being seen. But then she stepped on a twig. Daniel turned. Their eyes met. He took a slow step toward her. And in that moment, Emma knew. Everything she believed about her life was about to change forever. Emma stood frozen. The wind whispered through the trees, but everything else felt still, too still. Daniel stared at her, his face unreadable. The sharp black suit, the shining watch, the luxury car hidden behind the barn, it was all real. She wasn't dreaming. He took another step closer. Emma! His voice was calm, but there was something behind it. Something powerful. She took a step back. What is this? She stammered. Who are you? Daniel sighed, pulling the earpiece from his ear and sliding it into his pocket. You weren't supposed to find out this way. You lied to me, Emma said, her voice shaking. You told everyone you were poor. I never told anyone I was anything, he replied gently. I just let them think what they wanted. Emma's head was spinning. Why? Why pretend to be poor? Why marry me? Daniel looked down at the ground for a moment, then back at her. Because I was tired, Emma. Tired of fake smiles, gold diggers, and people who only cared about my money. I wanted something real. Someone real. Emma blinked. So you came here, to this village, dressed like a carpenter, just to find a wife? He chuckled softly. Not exactly. I came here to disappear. My company ran fine without me. I had people to manage it. I just needed peace. And I found it here. She stared at him, not sure whether to cry or scream. And me? I was just part of the plan. No, he said quickly, stepping closer. You weren't part of any plan. When I met your father and heard what you were going through, I wanted to help. But when I met you, he paused. I saw someone who wasn't asking for anything. You weren't desperate. You were brave. Emma's throat tightened. You tricked me. I never meant to, Daniel said quietly. But I understand why you feel that way. She turned away, wrapping her arms around herself. The cold night suddenly felt colder. You should go home, he said gently. We'll talk tomorrow. But Emma didn't sleep that night. Her mind ran wild with questions. Was he dangerous? Was he married to someone else? Did he really care about her? Or was she just another part of a secret world? The next morning, she didn't wait for him to wake up. She packed a small bag, grabbed her shoes, and ran to her father's house. Her father opened the door with surprise. Emma! What happened? Did he hurt you? She shook her head. No, not like that. He lied to us, Dad. He's not poor. What? He's a billionaire. Mr. Harper's jaw dropped. A what? Emma explained everything. The suit, the phone call, the black car. Her father sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he said, And that's a bad thing? Dad, she shouted. He lied. He saved us, Emma, her father said softly. He paid off the debts. He gave you shelter, food, a new start. But he didn't tell me the truth. Her father took her hand. Sometimes the truth is heavy. Maybe he wanted to know if someone could love him without it. Emma didn't say anything. That day, she wandered through the village, thinking. She passed the bakery where she used to dream of working, the little school where she taught kids how to read, the old swing near the river. Everything looked the same. But she wasn't the same. She was the wife of a secret billionaire. Later that night, she returned to Daniel's house. He was sitting outside, on the steps, watching the stars. He stood up as soon as he saw her. "You came back," he said. "I have questions," she said flatly. He nodded. "Ask. What's your real name?" "Daniel Quinn." "What do you do?" "I run a group of companies. Real estate. Tech energy. My team calls me the Ghost CEO because I never appear in the media." "Are you married to someone else?" "No." "Do you love me?" His eyes searched hers. "I don't know if I'm allowed to say that yet. But I care for you, Emma. Deeply." She looked down. "I don't know what to do with all of this." "Then don't do anything yet," he said. "Take your time. We can figure it out together." The next few days were strange. Emma stayed with Daniel but kept her distance. She watched him more closely now. She noticed how he'd sneak away for long calls in the barn, how a new car would appear at night and disappear before morning, how men in suits would sometimes knock and hand him sealed envelopes. She tried not to snoop, but curiosity won. One day, while Daniel was out, she checked the drawer again. Inside was a silver laptop. She opened it and saw folders labeled Q Holdings, accounts, properties, and one strange folder titled Project Ember. She clicked it. It asked for a password. Emma typed her birthday on a whim. It worked. The folder opened and revealed hundreds of documents and blueprints. Offshore accounts, private jets, island properties. But one thing caught her eye: an address. It was located in the village. Her stomach flipped. Why would a billionaire secretly buy land in a village like this? Before she could click deeper, she heard the front door creak open. "Daniel." She shut the laptop and rushed to the kitchen, pretending to look for sugar. Daniel walked in with a warm smile. "You okay?" "Fine," she lied, heart racing. That night, while he slept, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the folder, Project Ember. What was it? What was he hiding now? And why here? The next morning, she went to the local records office. It was a small, dusty building with one sleepy clerk. Emma asked about land purchases in the village over the last year. The clerk scratched his head and pulled out a few files. "Only one new name, I think. Quinn Properties. Bought the big field near the river a few months ago." Emma's heart jumped. She knew that place. It had once belonged to old man Jenkins before he died. It was a wide, empty field. Nobody ever used it. She walked straight there. What she saw made her blood freeze. There, hidden behind tall grass and wooden fencing, was a construction site. Giant machines, workers in helmets, steel beams being lifted, and a large sign that read, "Future site of Ember Valley Retreat, private luxury resort." Her head spun. He wasn't just hiding money. He was building an empire right under her nose. She turned to leave, but bumped into someone. It was Daniel. He stood there in a clean white shirt, his arms folded, and eyes locked on hers. "You weren't supposed to find this yet," he said. Emma stared at him wide-eyed. "What is this? You're building a resort here." He nodded slowly. "Why?" "For you," he said softly. "What?" "For you, Emma. For us. This village, your home, your dream of a bakery. I wanted to bring something big here. Something that could change everything." Emma's mouth went dry. "You were going to build all of this and not tell me?" "I didn't want to overwhelm you." She opened her mouth to argue, but a loud explosion shook the ground. They both turned as smoke began rising from the far side of the construction site. People screamed. Workers ran in every direction. Daniel dashed forward, pulling Emma behind him. Something had gone terribly wrong, and it was only the beginning. Smoke curled into the sky like a dark ribbon. The smell of burning wires and fuel filled the air. Workers were yelling, some running with fire extinguishers, others shouting directions. The quiet field that had just moments ago been a secret dream was now a chaotic mess. Emma clung to Daniel's arm as they ran toward the rising smoke. Her heart pounded with each step. She could feel the ground shaking faintly beneath her feet. Was someone hurt? What had exploded? They reached the far side of the construction site and saw a small storage unit engulfed in flames. Daniel barked orders to the workers, his calm voice cutting through the panic like a sharp knife. Clear the area. Get the emergency kits from the trailer. Someone call the fire department. Asterisk now, asterisk. Emma stood back, her hands trembling. She saw a worker limping away from the blast site, his face smeared with soot and his arm clutched tightly to his chest. Daniel rushed to his side, grabbing a first aid kit and dropping to his knees. Minutes passed in a blur. The fire department arrived, sirens wailing, and quickly took control. The flames hissed and shrank under their hoses, leaving behind a charred skeleton of twisted metal and ashes. Emma didn't speak. She watched Daniel sit on his face, his shirt smudged with dirt, helping the injured, talking to the fire chief, giving instructions. He didn't look like a billionaire. He looked like a leader. When the chaos finally settled, Daniel walked over to her. His face was tired, but his eyes were alert. "It wasn't an accident," he said grimly. Emma frowned. "What do you mean?" "The explosion, it came from inside a locked container. That unit wasn't supposed to have anything flammable. Then, someone did it on purpose." Daniel nodded. "I think someone found out about the project. And they don't want it to happen." Emma's skin prickled. "Who would do that?" Daniel looked out at the burnt wreckage. "I have enemies, Emma. People who've tried to ruin me before. I thought if I kept this place off the radar, they'd never find it. But they did." He nodded. "And now they know where I am." That night, Daniel didn't sleep. Neither did Emma. She watched him pace back and forth, making phone calls, checking satellite footage, speaking in sharp tones she'd never heard from him before. It was like seeing another side of him, one that was always just beneath the surface. And yet she wasn't afraid. She was curious. When he finally sat down, he looked at her. "I didn't want this to touch you," he said. "I thought I could keep my two worlds apart. I was wrong." Emma wrapped her arms around herself. "So what happens now?" "I tighten security," he said. "Move some of the project files off the servers. Call in a few people I trust." "And what about me?" He paused. "That's your choice." She blinked. "What do you mean?" "I can protect you. Move you to one of my safe houses. Keep you out of this." Emma shook her head. "No. I'm not running away. Not again." His eyes searched hers. "I stayed with you when I thought you were just a poor man," she said. "Now I know the truth, and it scares me. But I'm not leaving because of it." Daniel didn't say anything, but a small smile touched his lips. The next morning, Emma decided to visit the local library. She needed quiet. She needed time to think. On her way, she passed a group of villagers whispering near the old well. They fell silent when they saw her. She felt their eyes follow her. The whispers had begun. That same afternoon, her best friend Sarah showed up at the door, arms crossed, eyes full of questions. "You married Daniel Quinn," she blurted. "The Daniel Quinn." Emma froze. "You know who he is?" "Everyone does," Sarah said. "He's all over the internet now. Some reporter leaked a story last night, photos of the explosion, blueprints of the resort, and pictures of you and him together. Emma, your face is everywhere." Emma's heart dropped. "No." Sarah pulled out her phone and showed her. There it was, a blurry photo of Daniel holding Emma's hand near the fire truck, the headline screaming, "Billionaire hiding in village. Secret wedding raises eyebrows, asterisk asterisk." Emma nearly dropped the phone. "I didn't sign up for this." Sarah hugged her. "I know, but you're in it now." That evening, Daniel confirmed the worst. "Someone hacked one of my contractors," he said. "They leaked the plans in your name. You're not safe here anymore." Emma shook her head. "I won't leave." "Emma." "I won't," she said firmly. "If they want to come for you, they'll have to go through me too." Daniel looked at her for a long time, and then he nodded. "Then we prepare." The following week was a whirlwind. Security cameras went up around the house. Guards in plain clothes were stationed near the property. Emma's name was trending online. News vans began parking outside the village. The peaceful little world she once knew was vanishing. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the sky turned gold, Emma stood at the edge of the river and tried to remember what her life used to be. She missed her mother's voice. She missed the silence, But when Daniel joined her, taking her hand and holding it tight, she knew something else. She didn't miss being invisible. Still, something strange had been bothering her. The night before the explosion, she'd seen a figure walking through the field. A tall man, wearing a hat, limping slightly. She hadn't told Daniel yet. But tonight, as they stood there by the river, she decided to speak. "I think I saw someone the night before the explosion," she said quietly. Daniel turned to her, serious. "Who?" "I don't know. A man. Limped a little. I thought maybe it was just a worker." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "That's important. Thank you for telling me. Do you think he planted the bomb?" "I don't know, but I'll find out." Later that night, Emma went to check on something in the barn. The door creaked open, and she stepped inside. She froze. A note was pinned to the wall with a rusty nail. It read, "He's not who you think he is. Meet me by the old train bridge. Come alone. Midnight." Her heart skipped a beat. She looked around the dark barn. No one. She grabbed the note and rushed back inside. Daniel was on the phone, but she interrupted him. He read the note, his jaw tightening. "I don't like this," he said. "It could be a trap." "But what if it's someone who knows the truth?" she asked. "Someone who can help us?" He hesitated. "I have to go," she said. Daniel frowned. "Then I'm going with you." She shook her head. "They said come alone." "Then I'll follow from a distance," he replied firmly. "I'm not letting you walk into danger." Emma nodded. That night, as the clock neared midnight, Emma put on her coat and headed toward the old train bridge. The moon was full. The wind carried strange sounds across the trees. She reached the bridge and stood under it, waiting. 10 minutes passed. Then she heard footsteps. A shadow moved out from the trees. The man stepped forward slowly. Emma gasped. It was her mother's old friend, Mr. Carver. But his face was bruised, and his left eye swollen shut. "I tried to stop them," he whispered. "Stop who?" she asked. But before he could answer, a bright light blinded them both. A second shadow stepped out behind him, holding something in his hand. It glinted in the moonlight. A gun. Emma froze. Her breath caught in her throat. The man with the gun didn't speak. He only stepped closer, the metal glinting in his hand trembling slightly in the moonlight. Mr. Carver raised his hand slowly, stepping in front of Emma as if to shield her. "I told you not to come," he whispered urgently. "This was a warning. You were followed." Emma's eyes darted behind the armed man. Trees rustled in the wind. Shadows moved. Was Daniel close? Was help coming? Then, the man finally spoke. "Get away from her, Carver. She doesn't know what you've done." Emma blinked. "What are you talking about?" Carver looked back at her, pain in his eyes. "Emma, I wasn't supposed to get involved. But you were just a girl when they started watching your family. I tried to protect you. That's why I stayed in the village all these years." "What are you talking about? Watching my family? Who are they?" Before he could answer, a gunshot cracked through the night. Emma screamed. Carver dropped to the ground, clutching his side, blood pooling beneath him. The man with the gun turned and fled into the woods as Daniel burst from the trees, his own weapon drawn, eyes scanning the darkness. "Emma!" he shouted, grabbing her. "He's hurt!" she cried. "Carver's hurt!" Daniel knelt beside the wounded man and pressed a cloth against his wound. "I've got him. Call the chopper," he barked into his earpiece. "We need medevac now." Emma knelt beside them, shaking. Her hands were covered in blood. "He said they were watching my family," she whispered. "Why? Why my family?" Daniel didn't answer. He was too focused on keeping Carver alive. 30 minutes later, Carver was airlifted to a private hospital. Emma and Daniel followed behind in a black SUV, quiet, tense, their fingers intertwined but their minds racing. Who were they? What had Carver meant? At the hospital, Carver went straight into surgery. Daniel made a call to a man named Beckett, his private security chief. "I want full surveillance records. Every camera near the bridge. Pull up the guest list from the village for the last month. Anyone staying at the inn, anyone visiting, get everything." Emma sat quietly in the corner of the hospital lounge, staring at her hands. She felt like she was unraveling. First the explosion, then the note. Now a man she trusted bleeding out in front of her. And this new secret, this terrible new thread, somehow tied to her family? When Daniel hung up the phone, he turned to her. There's something I should have told you before. Emma looked up slowly. I didn't just come to the village to escape the world. I came because I was investigating something. Her chest tightened. What kind of something? He hesitated, then sat next to her. There's a group of powerful people who've been covering up illegal land deals, using shell companies, laundering money through fake development projects. I uncovered a few of them years ago. They've tried to silence me ever since. Emma's voice was barely a whisper. And you think they're connected to me? Daniel nodded grimly. Your father, he used to work for one of those shell companies. Emma's eyes went wide. That's not possible. My father died when I was 6. I know. But what if his death wasn't an accident? Emma stood, trembling. You think they killed him? Daniel didn't say yes, but his silence was louder than any words. The next morning, Carver woke up in a hospital bed, pale and weak but alive. Daniel and Emma were by his side. You need to tell us everything, Daniel said. Carver nodded weakly. Emma's father was a good man. He found something in the records, something he wasn't supposed to. He tried to go public. Days later, his car crashed into the lake. Everyone thought it was an accident. It wasn't. Emma felt like the air had been sucked from her lungs. Carver continued. After his death, your mother took you far away, changed your name. I stayed behind, pretending to be a harmless old farmer. I thought they'd stop looking if you disappeared, but they never stopped watching. And when you married Daniel, it brought them all back. Emma stepped away from the bed, tears welling in her eyes. So my whole life, everything, it's been a lie? Carver closed his eyes. I'm sorry. Daniel walked over and took her hand. We'll find out the truth. I swear it. Later that evening, Beckett arrived with the surveillance results. We have footage, he said, setting a laptop down. They watched the video. The man who'd shot Carver had his face hidden under a hood, but something caught Emma's eye, a limp. She froze. That's the same man I saw walking through the field before the explosion. Beckett paused the video. We're running facial recognition now, but there's something else you should see. He clicked on another clip. This one showed the village square, Emma's old house. A black van parked across the street. A man stepped out. He wasn't wearing a hood this time. Emma gasped. That's Mr. Dalton. He's my mother's cousin. He used to visit us when I was little. Daniel leaned in. What do you know about him? Nothing much. My mom used to say he was always in trouble. He moved away years ago. I haven't seen him since I was 10. Beckett nodded. Looks like he's back. And he's watching your house. Emma sat down heavily. Her world was spinning. I don't know who to trust anymore. Daniel crouched in front of her. You can trust me. Her voice cracked. Can I? He didn't answer right away. Then he said something she didn't expect. There's something else. Something I didn't want to tell you until I had proof. But you deserve to know. He opened his briefcase and took out a yellowed folder. Inside were photographs, documents, maps. What is this? She asked. Daniel flipped through the pages and pointed to one. This is the original ownership deed of the land your village was built on. And this, he tapped another page, shows your father's name listed as the legal owner. Emma's eyes widened. What are you saying? I'm saying your family never lived in that village by accident. Your father owned everything. And now, by blood, so do you. Emma's hands shook as she stared at the papers. The village. The land. The property Daniel was building on. It's all mine. Daniel nodded. Which means you're a threat to them. The lights in the room flickered. The laptop screen went black. Then, from somewhere in the hospital hallway, a loud crash. Beckett drew his weapon. Daniel grabbed Emma's hand. Then the fire alarm began to scream. And all the lights went out. The hospital plunged into darkness. Red emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie glows across the hallway. The fire alarm blared, shrill and sharp, drowning out Emma's heartbeat that was already thudding like thunder in her ears. Daniel pulled her close. Stay behind me, he said firmly. Beckett motioned for them to move. We can't stay here. If the power's cut, they're coming. Who? Emma whispered. Daniel didn't answer. He just ran. They moved fast, ducking through emergency exits, winding through back corridors. Doctors shouted, patients screamed, alarms wailed from every corner of the building. Emma clutched the file folder tightly against her chest as she ran, the papers fluttering in the air behind her. The truth about her family, her land, her life, was now inside those pages. A nurse stopped them at the stairwell. "You can't go down there. It's full of smoke." Daniel didn't stop. He kicked open the stairwell door, and smoke rushed out like a living thing. "We don't have a choice," he said. "It's them, or the fire." They bounded down the stairs, coughing, eyes burning, Emma's legs shaking with every step. Then, halfway down, a shadow moved at the bottom of the stairwell. Beckett raised his gun. Too late. Gunfire exploded upward. Beckett took a bullet to the shoulder and fell back against the wall. "Go," he gasped. "Get her out." Daniel helped him sit, then yanked Emma down another flight. At the basement level, Daniel used a key card to open a hidden door behind the boiler room. Inside was a private garage, black SUVs, motorbikes, and emergency escape kits. "You had this here all along." Emma coughed, wiping soot from her face. "I always have a way out," Daniel muttered, throwing open the car door. They jumped in and sped through a tunnel that led beneath the hospital. Only when they were on the highway, miles away from the city, did Emma speak again. "They set the hospital on fire just to get to me." Daniel's knuckles tightened on the steering wheel. "They're not trying to scare us anymore. They're trying to erase you." Emma swallowed hard. "But why now? Why after all these years?" Daniel didn't answer for a while. Then he said, "Because they know you're close to finding out the truth." She looked down at the folder again, heart pounding. Daniel glanced at her. "There's more, Emma. Something I never told anyone." Her eyes met his. "I didn't just buy land in your village because it was a good business move." "Then why?" "Because I already knew who you were." Emma stared at him in silence. He went on, "I didn't just stumble into that village by chance. I've been looking for you." The car went quiet. The sound of tires on pavement was the only thing between them. Emma felt her entire world shift again. "You knew who I was all along." "Yes." She pulled away slightly. "So all of this, meeting me, marrying me, it was a plan?" He looked over quickly, pained. "No. At first, maybe. But then I saw you. I got to know you. And none of it was a plan anymore." Tears sprang to her eyes. "You lied to me. I protected you. You lied to me, Daniel." He didn't say anything. The SUV pulled into a hidden driveway leading to a sprawling estate nestled deep in the woods. Guards opened the gates as Daniel drove through. Emma stared at the mansion, stunned. "Where are we?" "My safest house. No one knows about this place. Not even Carver." Inside, the walls were lined with bookshelves. Monitors showed security feeds. The house was a fortress. Emma sat in a large chair by the fire, hugging herself. Daniel returned a few minutes later with a fresh folder. "What's this now?" she asked bitterly. He opened it and showed her a document. "This is your father's journal. He kept a backup. I found it last year but couldn't decrypt it until now." He handed her a page. Emma read aloud. "If anything happens to me, tell Emma she must go to Havens Ridge. That's where the truth begins." "Havens Ridge," she whispered. Daniel nodded. "It's an old mining town north of here. Your father was investigating something buried there, something worth killing for." Emma stood slowly, the firelight dancing in her eyes. "We're going," she said. "Now." "Yes. No more running." Daniel's face lit with quiet pride. "You really are your father's daughter." They packed light and left under cover of night. Only Beckett stayed behind to guard the house. After hours of driving, they reached Havens Ridge by dawn. Fog blanketed the ground, and the buildings stood like ghosts in the mist. Emma walked slowly down the gravel path, heart pounding. Her father's footsteps had been here. Somewhere in this dead town lay the answer. Then they saw it, a lone wooden cabin on a hill. Daniel pulled the car up close. They stepped out and found the door already open. Inside, the cabin was filled with old files, maps, and photos. Emma picked up one photo and gasped. It was her, as a child, standing beside her father. But behind them stood a man, and that man was Daniel. She turned to him slowly, trembling. "You were there even then?" Daniel's face was pale. I didn't know you'd remember that." Emma stepped back. "You've been watching me my whole life?" "No, not watching. Searching, I was just a teenager when that photo was taken. Your father helped mine get out of a corrupt business deal. He saved my family's life. I've been trying to return the favor ever since. Emma sank into a chair, breathless. But why didn't you just tell me? Because I didn't think you'd ever believe me. Then outside a sound. Gravel crunching. Tires rolling. Daniel froze. Emma looked through the cabin window. 4 black vans had surrounded them. Men in suits stepped out. Each of them wore the same silver pin on their lapels. A snake wrapped around a tree. Emma's voice shook. That's the symbol I saw in my father's old books. Daniel loaded his weapon. They found us. What do we do? Emma whispered. Daniel looked at her. We fight. The door burst open. Smoke grenades rolled across the floor. Men stormed in. Emma screamed. And everything went black. The end. But is it really the end? Smiling face with horns.